Welcome to the Women in Blockchain Talks podcast, an educational platform where we focus on bringing you fresh and unique perspectives on the crypto and DLT space. I'm your host, Lavinia Osborne, and I'll be speaking to different experts and professionals who will be on hand to pass on their knowledge. If you enjoyed the show, please consider joining our exciting and diverse blockchain community, which is open to all genders. Thank you for listening. Now on to the show. Hello everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be watching this live or watching this from the recording. Today we have Bettinna, that's a B-E, a double T, a double N, and then and then an A at the end of it, Bettinna. And Bettinna is the founder and experience director of Bettymedia. Now, this conversation is all about NFTs. I'm sure you've heard NFTs, you've seen the acronym, you've probably seen articles, and you're still wondering, what is it all about? Well, as part of your membership, I will bring in special guest speakers to break it down, and that is exactly what Bettinna is going to do. Now, we're also going to talk about why it's important for you to know this, okay? Because as you know, Women in Blockchain Talks is a community that's all about building people up and showing them their potential of what they can be and what they can do in blockchain. It could be leveraging cryptocurrency. Some people are only interested in cryptocurrency, but my thinking is always, you don't know what you don't know. And this arena, this area of work, of tech, is still so new, and there's still so much being created and being innovated to just close yourself off to say crypto. You're closing yourself off to your potential. So it's all about just being aware of what is out there, and this is what we're bringing to the table via your membership, Women in Blockchain Talks. And once you understand and have a feeling of what's out there, then you can make better choices with your time, your money, your resources, and your life and career ultimately. So this is what these recordings are all about, and it's part of your mini master course, which is an introduction to NFTs. So without further ado, let's welcome Bettinna. Bettinna, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
To the
I'm
Women in
excited.
Blockchain Talks platform. So have you heard of us before? Because I'm sure.
Yes,
Okay,
I've
great.
known you, and I know you're in the group of women in blockchain, women of color blockchain.
Yes.
We've never met in person, but
Yeah.
we all know each other from so many groups,
Yeah.
and especially on Telegram. I
Yeah.
love Telegram.
Yeah, I know, me too, me too. And I'm going to let you continue to introduce yourself. But before you do that, I just want to say,
Mhm.
you just said something there. You said that we're in the Telegram group, Blockchain for Colored Women. Is it? It's for
Women
women
of
of
color
color, sorry.
blockchain. Yeah.
Yeah, women of color. And so women of color are referring to what, non-Caucasians, or would you
Yeah,
be
well,
referring
no,
to?
it's a group of women of color from Black, Latinas,
Mhm.
Asian women,
Mhm.
who are not often seen in the, I guess
In the
in the
space?
space, but we are in the space. We're doing amazing projects.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, there's hundreds of us.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we are in the space, and we're doing our own projects, and it's a support group too, mostly. And Lindsay Newen is the woman who created the Women of
Yes.
Color blockchain, and so you're a little bit more active and have a wider international
Hmm.
audience. So that's awesome. So Women of in blockchain, I'm referring to. So
It's
yes,
interesting you say that though, because the thing I see, just touching on this subject, is that that group, I find it's very American centric. So it's more, whereas I'm Europe based.
yes,
And so I did find the group very, and I still do find it
I
very
agree.
useful, because for me, as a woman of color, sometimes it's good to be in a space where you're seeing people who look like you rather than being the token. But we'll touch
Yes.
on that later.
Yes, since we were referring to tokens.
Yes. But without further ado, please, just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your experience around NFT, because that's what we're focused on today.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Bettina, as you said. I am the founder and experience director of Bettymedia. We focus on user experience, customer experience, and branding. We've been around for over 12 years going strong. We pull our network of designers, developers, and futurists and strategists to team up in providing limitless creative solutions for clients. So collectively, we have delivered for IBM, Citi, Kino Film Festival, Twitter, Louis Vuitton, Honda, including the first crypto fitness studio called Gritboxing. And it's backed by one of our own, Tim Draper. He's in the block space, yes. And so my company has always been our mission has been really to inform, inspire, and innovate, right? And so to do that, we have to look, listen, and learn. And so for the last 4 years, we have been conducting research and educating people on better user experience in blockchain and crypto for mass adoption, and an emphasis on user security, privacy, and accessibility of open blockchain for true self-custodial and financial well-being. Now, it's interesting because I got into blockchain. How I got into blockchain is very interesting because before my design career, I worked as a financial analyst for Citi, Lehman Brothers, JP Morgan, Credit Suisse, and I had a stint in publishing and in the entertainment industry. And so I left Wall Street on the cusp of the financial disaster of 2008, thinking I would never work in finance again. And so I went back to school, received my bachelor's in graphic design and minor in art history, and from Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. And around 2013, I was asked to redesign the prime finance exchange portal at Citi. And I didn't want to do it. I took on the job because the boss his wife had gone to FIT and he wanted me to do a video demo. I thought that was much more interesting. But it's interesting because I ended up taking it, and it was the best. I'm really happy I did, because that executive was on Bitcoin back in 2013. And at the time, I thought, what a complicated, nerdy thing, and didn't think of it anything afterwards. I was just like, this is ridiculous, right? 5 years later, I come across Andrea Antonopoulos, one of your own, right? Mm-hmm. Discussing Bitcoin and the future of money on the London Reel. Mm-hmm. I don't know how it came about where I see this, but it was the universe. That is when I had my aha moment, because he knows how to really explain things in a simple manner. And one of my first crypto events was a crypto art event, where I saw how a cryptographic hash was conducted and how artists are using the Ethereum to mint their work. Yes. And so that was the first time I ever saw an NFT. And so right now everyone's talking about NFT. I'm like, well, years back I was in this event, right? And NFT has been around since 2013. One of the first NFTs were CryptoKitties and Rap Hippie. And it's so funny because another event I attended, the managers of Christie's and Sotheby's were discussing how they wanted to get on the blockchain and how they wanted to use blockchain to track and manage artwork, tangible art to intangible art. And
it's just been in the news.
And it's funny because they really didn't understand blockchain at the time. This is hilarious because, again, this was a small event. Mm-hmm. Few people were at this event. And these managers were there. And that was the same day I actually bought a Rare Pepe Basquiat at an auction. And nobody was there, just, well, okay, I love this work. And I like the artist. And so basically, right now it's interesting what's happening in the space because, I see NFTs as some sort, right now the conversation is similar to ICOs of, the hoopla of what was happening. Right now, it's really wealthy people are trying to find ways to, this is my personal view, but I think they trying to find places that they know will make them money down the line. And the wealthy do, whether they love art or not, but this is a space, the world of art is a space where that can happen. And this is a great opportunity for artists and creators and writers and filmmakers and musicians to use this because, I remember back when I was learning about NFTs, there were Venezuelans who were now on the blockchain for the first time and finally being able to sell their work all over the world.
Amen.
That would never have happened before blockchain, because how do you do that? How can you sell your work to, people in UK and people in China, Iran? I followed for years Iranians' works, but I've not been able to, we don't see them, but now we can see their work on the blockchain. And so people are using it and making a living out of it. Now, even though, the NFT has been being used as for art, it actually has so much. I think anybody can actually study this and see the potential and the opportunity to apply it to other things.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there just for one moment, because
absolutely,
you're just bringing the goods, man. You're bringing the goods. And for me personally, right, I love this subject. I love crypto, but this right here, the magic of creating something from yourself, right? And then being able to put it on the blockchain in a well, not even tangible, but in a pragmatic, real way that you can earn money from it. We're taught this is what blockchain is all about: accessibility, transparency, financial sharing of the wealth. Bringing financial, helping the
equity,
people, the equity to the people from different parts of the world. Venezuela, they've been going through their economy has been down for so long, and then you have communities in the Philippines who are minting FTs, and that is how they're earning to bring money in. I mean, this is what we're talking about. This is like you said, bringing the financial equity to many people, not just the rich and the famous. And it is beautiful. So, right, I need to direct this conversation a little bit now. So we've talked about how NFTs can touch on many different industries. So all of you who are listening, maybe this might not align with you, but who do you know who's an artist? Because I know 2 artists who I want to bring this to and will be bringing this to. But how do you actually get started? Like, how would you go about minting a NFT, a creation?
Well, getting on the Ethereum platform, there are now amazing apps such as the OpenSea platform that's making it very easy to upload a work. Engine, Rarible is another one, and Foundation app. There's another great one I personally do prefer is Zora. Zora's platform is interesting because if you do put your work on their platform, every time the sale of the work, the artist or the creator is able to obtain royalties. So basically, it's the platform rewards and protects the artist and the artist's work every time it's being sold. The problem is that as of right now, there are still people trying to find solutions. And if the work goes over to a second marketplace, then how is the artist able to obtain the royalty from that? Now, I do think that the smart contract and how it's programmable, you can apply terms into the smart contract in terms regarding how you want to so for example, if a television or media was to use your work, you can say, okay, this is the terms for that, right? Just like movies and films, there's certain terms that they have where they can, you may not be able to see it at home, but you can see it on the platform or vice versa. So you can set the terms. However, I would suggest before you do put anything on the blockchain, especially with design and any type of artwork and creation, do show the work. Meaning, when it's funny because in design school, it's never about the end result, it's always about the process. And so for us, they've always told us, show the work, show your process, take pictures of how you went about it. Because let's take Beeple. Beeple is a graphic designer. MySpace, we've known Beeple for years. And he just sold an NFT of his work, the 5,000 days, for over $67 million USD. And so to people who may not know Beeple, in the space and design, we've known Beeple for years. And so he's one of our own. Why this is important to us? Because he's been basically doing a digital art every single day and posting it for free every day. And so it was one of those things. And we would watch him. So he's done videos where like he would come in after his work, his day job. Basically, this man works a day job, corporate job. He lives in North Carolina. So it's just the average guy. And so when this opportunity came where you're like, we're hearing Beeple's gonna sell this for 67 million, to the outside world, they're like, this is ridiculous. But we knew his process. We were with him from the very beginning. And so that's the opportunity for creators where if you show the work, if you show who you are, people will love you for it. And they see an opportunity to like, oh my God, I'm with you. And I don't know if I will pay $67 million, but if I had the money, absolutely, I would be investing in Beeple because that's how I will say, copyright the work, show the process. That way, if you turn your work into an NFT, the laws will protect you even more.
Yeah.
Because at the end, if you put the NFT, who's to say this is mine?
Yes.
We don't know until you want to make sure you have that process. So if you wanted to patent something or brand or trademark something, I would suggest going to trademark your brand, trademark certain like if Nike wanted to, or Adidas was to want to put something in the blockchain, which I believe they are doing right now, their brand is a trademark brand. And so anybody who tries to take anything on the NFT or, screenshot and claim it as theirs, they can't do that because they already added that layer.
Their brand is already established. So a couple of things here. First of all, for those who are listening, just a very brief of what a smart contract is, because some people think it's a real contract, but in actuality, it isn't.
It isn't. It's just a script. It should have been a script as a coded language. It's just added script that's basically codes. You can add a term on it, but it's codes. That's how I can simply explain. It's a script, and even Vitalik was saying that he should have never called it a smart contract. So it's not a smart contract. It's really scripted code that was applied.
So for those listening, so to add to what Bettina's saying, it's like the scripts and the code is basically if you do A, then this will trigger B.
Exactly.
And if you do B, then it will trigger C. And then it go back to A. And so basically the code is set so that if you purchase A, then
there's a code that will transact, that will show that, okay, this is the transaction and this is what you're going to get the results as.
Exactly.
So yes, exactly.
And it's on the blockchain, And so because it's on the blockchain, it's recorded and it's immutable. So it can't be
Exactly.
modified. And that's the beauty of the blockchain. Yeah. And so of course it only works for digital assets and not necessarily physical assets.
Well, this is the beauty of it's not so much digital not so much because in Sotheby's that was the question about intangible versus a tangible work.
Yeah.
For instance, the Mona Lisa is at the Louvre. If they wanted to put parts, like, I don't know if anyone in here have worked in galleries or the museums. There's a process in the tangible. So they study the type of oil, the age, the years, and all of that. So that information is needed. And so if that's documented, you actually can add that information, track who had bought it through the years, because it's gone through so many hands before it got into the Louvre, right? And so if that information is documented, so a document like an artwork, a contract, a real contract, can be added to the blockchain for future use, where someone can say, okay, we can see that. So, but creating an artwork, a digital work, and turning into an NFT and ensuring that this is your work and it's not tangible, that can be applied in the blockchain.
Right. Okay. So you see, this is something that I'm learning. There's so much to learn. And I wanted to touch on what you were saying about how NFTs are very popular. It's like ICO, there's such a craze around it. But like you said, it's been around for so long. So I don't feel like this is going to be here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
I feel what it's doing, it's expediting its development, because there's a lot of people coming in. And so there will be a lot of people. When a lot of people come into something, there's a lot more movements, and you can record those movements, what's working, what isn't working. So I think it's expediting the development, the maturity of how NFTs can potentially be used, and also how we protect the owners of the NFTs. So, for example, like you said, people know people in the community. So if someone tried to rip off his work, there'll be people in the community be like, hold on a second, no. But so for people coming into the industry, they might need to think about, maybe I need to get a trademark. I need to protect myself because I'm not established, but I do want to leverage this. And I have these beautiful arts that I've been working on. It's just I haven't done it openly. And I now want to utilize NFTs to, to project and give my art out there and make money as well. So this is something to think about if you are an artist. Now, one of the other things I think that comes up, and you touched upon it, is like the secondary holder, the secondary person who would be perhaps given the NFT and potentially using smart contracts. So where does the legalities of all of this come into it? Like, the ownership and having a lawyer protect your rights, so to speak.
Well, at the end of the day, it's the same thing as tangible art. My personal view, I'm not a lawyer, so it could vary depending on jurisdiction. But if I am the painter, I personally think it is mine. I am the creator. But if somebody purchases it, yeah, they are the new owner, but they're not the creator. It's really understanding the language, because it's similar to photography. When you go to Getty's images, and when you go on to certain type of stock photos, or films, you are consuming these work. It's all out there, but at the end of the day, the creator can set the terms and say, okay, we don't want our work to be placed a certain way. We don't want it to be repurposed a certain way. You can repurpose it maybe, but you cannot make money off the repurpose, right? Yeah. And so as long those terms are set by the creator, at the end of the day, whatever the creator says goes. Yeah. And so it's kind of similar to memes. There was just recently, the New Yorker magazine has this image of this elongated iPhone. It was referring to mental health a text-based application, whether or not they're effective, but the imagery is this elongated iPhone of this run-on text, right? And someone, one of the creative directors, is on my LinkedIn, and he posted how he just did this, this cover. And I noticed in the comment section, someone on Reddit, because you mentioned about communities, the people can say, hey, hold a minute, this is not yours.
Yes.
It turns out somebody who happens to be on Reddit saw it, said, this is not yours. This came from a Reddit meme.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is interesting because the folks in Reddit is one of the they fast.
Yeah.
They really, they're a tight
Hardcore.
community, hardcore community, where they really big on protecting creators and people who have made, comments or, share things. And so they will blast you online, and which they did. And so it's going to be interesting what the gentlemen say about, the cover, because at the end of the day, it's so similar. It wasn't changed. It's very, very similar. And I mean, some people may say, well, creation, a lot of things that are created there's nothing new. Yes and no, but it was on Reddit. It was the first that was on Reddit. So that's where, again, there's a timestamp. And that's the thing about the blockchain. There's always these timestamp. Again, if you do have your process, that protects you even more. It's the same thing with patents. There's been so many years of so many works. People have said, I did this years back. And I remember one of my teachers, Mr. Choka, and I remember he had a book. And he, after class, he was like, Bettina, let me show you something. And he had these amazing drawings of innovation that he was doing since before I was born. And he said he actually sued many major companies. He told me the stories. And what made why the court chose him over the major companies is because he had the drawings.
Yeah.
He had all the process. There was no disputing it. And so he won the cases. Now, of course, it's tough to win some of these cases because it's costly. But at the end of the day, it's embarrassing to the person who tries to claim something. That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Women in Blockchain Talks podcast with Lavinia Osborne, getting professional and personal in the crypto and DLT space. A quick break to shout out our sponsors, and a massive thank you to our partners April 6, industry specialists that make moments that matter for brands that shape the future. So here's another question. We always hear about the people during the gold rush. It wasn't the people who found the gold that really made the money. It was the people selling the shovels and the picks, right? Yeah. So we see that NFT is moving, it's growing, it's maturing, and we see platforms like Oversea. Right, it's Oversea, is that correct?
Oh no, it's OpenSea. Yeah, OpenSea.
OpenSea, not OpenSea.
Yeah.
Right.
And some of them are great, some of them are not, because of terms. You have to really look at it. Some of them I will, I'm still looking into, because you have to keep in mind, how much they are charging and whether or not you really have rights to it. So, but be mindful of that. Read everything.
Very good point. Read everything, guys. So, but with OpenSea, they have just got funding, like quite a lot of funding in the millions. Did you read about that, Bettina?
I briefly read it, but I didn't get a chance to really look into, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
Of course, I'm not surprised either. So my question is, someone might be watching this, listening to this, and they're like, you know what? I don't have anything artistic, creative in my bone, but I can see this as an area that's going to grow. How can I get involved, or how could I invest potentially in OpenSea, a platform like that, so that I can benefit from the platform rather than the actual creation. Because I think a lot of people are always like, I don't really want to invest in crypto, but I wouldn't mind investing maybe in an exchange, or not necessarily to decentralize. You can't invest in Bitcoin or Ethereum or Consensus because they're kind of like decentralized, but they're a company.
Well,
Um,
Bitcoin you can invest, so that's a little different. That I will say, but the others, yes,
no,
I
when
can
I
see
say
it. Yeah.
Bitcoin, not a crypto, I'm not talking about Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency. I'm talking about someone may not be interested in cryptocurrency, but they're interested in the company. Because
I'll
some
see.
people have that mindset
Yeah,
of,
absolutely.
let me invest in stocks and shares in a company that is doing blockchain rather than me actually investing in the,
Exactly.
you know,
Um, I will say I don't know if OpenSea is going. They may turn into an IPO down the line.
yeah.
So if you have if they open it to the public in some ways and shape or form, I do say that yes, that's the opportunity to start investing, meaning
Mhm.
stocks, right? So that could be an opportunity right there.
Mm,
The problem is pre-IPO is where sometimes it's a bit tough because
mm.
oftentimes it's the major investors who get the
The better
the
deals.
the better deals. And so, but if you know folks and you speak around or even call up OpenSea, maybe say,
Mm,
hey, I want to be part of that pre-IPO.
mm,
Will I be able to invest? Is that an opportunity to do so? That's one way. There are, say, oh, even though you may not be interested in investing in art,
mhm.
like I said, the very wealthy, I personally don't think that many of them are interested in art. There's some of these works you've seen in galleries, you're like, are you serious?
Mm, 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 mm.
And somebody has it and they want to show off to their friends
Yeah.
and see it as it isn't, it is an investment, but I think this is an opportunity where you're like, okay, I own something,
Mhm,
I can sell it
mhm,
at some point. It's just think of the art as also real estate.
mhm,
So that's the thing. It's not crypto, but it's the art itself is a form of it's an asset.
mm.
And so when it comes to art, in especially and that's another thing from what I understand, they are digital asset fund management that's happening right now.
Yeah, they are.
So look
And the
into that.
Jafra. Yeah.
Yes, look into ETFs, because
What's the
it's just
ETS?
ETF is the electronic what's the term? It's
Oh,
another stock
yeah, it's you're talking
electronic e-trading fund. Yeah,
funds, yeah,
funds. And so that's an
ETF, yeah,
opportunity, yeah, where there are several blockchain ETFs now.
yeah,
I will say be mindful because if when Bitcoin goes up, it goes up. If Bitcoin
yeah.
goes down, and yeah, it's kind of part of it too. And so you kind of be mindful of that. Invest in what you know. And it's just like real estate. You like something, you think it works for you, you understand it, and you want to stay in there for a few years, then
Mm,
do that. I don't think that anybody can. I don't personally believe that you should just go on NFTs just because there's the gold rush. Like I said, at the time, there wasn't a major craze with NFTs years back. I bought a rare Pepe. I
mm,
just so happened to like the Basquiat work, the way it was repurposed, and
mm,
I bought it. That's it.
mm,
And
mm,
because I wasn't, but that's the artist in me. But
mm,
if you're not the artist and you do like something, you can invest in it and just hold on to it. It can be also a album, a music album.
mm.
That's another way of investing. Calling the companies to invest, investing in what you know, what you like, and holding on for the long term because you will get something out of it.
Mm. I think, I mean, there's so much to say on this topic. You've
Yeah.
just touched on music, you touched on artwork, there's so much things to touch on with NFTs, but I'm going to just wrap it up. And one of the ways I want to wrap it up, but before I do that, actually, I just want to just emphasize a point that Bettina touched on for those listening is if there's something you want to invest in, if there's something that you want to know more about, contact the companies direct. You have nothing to lose by
Mm-hmm.
asking the questions. In this life, you get so much for being bold and brave. Okay. And it's these sorts of conversations that I'm sharing, we're having in this community that gives you, sometimes we need permission or a reminder that we can do these things. And it's by listening and being involved in communities such as Women in Blockchain Talks that you can be reminded. And if you so need it, given the permission to be like, hey girl, hey boy, just call them. If that's what you want to know, if that's what you want to do, pick up the phone, get the email, and follow up. Do what you need to do to push yourself forward in this space and position yourself.
Especially, it's so funny because, conferences are going to come back again.
Hmm.
And especially after, this pandemic, and I can see where the conferences are going to be extremely expensive. If
Hmm.
you're a new person in this space and you do not have the funds and you want to learn, I've called up the conference organizers and say, hey, I didn't have, at the time it was so expensive, where I'm like, I don't have the funds. I don't, I can't be spending. I do have a small business, so I can't be putting out like 300, $3,000 on conference tickets or whatever, but they'll do that. Just asking. I'm glad you said that, because my experience, I guess it's because I am a UX designer, and my business has always been to ask
Mm,
questions.
mm,
That's my job. I'm always
mm,
having to inquire things for
mm.
my clients, and so that's what I do. And I think this is a great space to learn, because
Yes.
you're at the very start of this amazing technology that still people are learning. I tell everyone right now, forget about FOMO,
Mm,
fear of missing out right now. Just
yeah.
take your time to learn,
Yeah.
look, listen, ask questions. It could be the most dumbest questions, just ask.
Yeah.
It's better to don't assume anything. Yes,
Hmm.
there is not a lot of women, or there are. I personally think there are. It's just, you know, they need to
They're
be
not as
vocal.
visible.
It's bold. Yeah. So be bold, as you said, be bold, speak up, get out there and just do it. And yeah, if you want to learn, just ask.
No, I so agree with that. And the FOMO bit is because like there's so much, I tell you, I mean, the amount of information that has come at me about NFTs, and it's
Me too.
like, and
Me
I'm
too.
just like, oh, and then and then DeFi, and then this cryptocurrency, and you should jump on this one, and ADA and Cardano, and etc. etc. And it's an overwhelm. But I agree with you. It's there's so much, and it's just so much innovation, and it is evolving. What you're meant to do and when you're meant to do it will happen organically. You just got to
Mhm.
breathe it in and breathe it out, and
Yes.
just take your time. So here's a question. Do you do workshops around NFTs? Because obviously you are a designer, you are UX, and you are in blockchain, and you've been in this space for a long time. So do you actually run workshops on NFTs and creating?
No, not yet. Actually, right now we've been in the process of rebranding Bettymedia.com. And
Mm,
right now we've been basically trying to apply the BTC pay server system into the new website, because we want to get our clients to basically pay, convert their fiat to be Bitcoin to pay
mm,
us.
mhm,
And so that's how right now what we're trying to do, like apply blockchain to our company. And
mhm,
then we are planning to start you figuring out how we can basically use NFT and some ways, in some form, in the work that we do. And also, we've been talking about brand integration with blockchain to clients. And so there were things that I've been thinking about for our clients for a while, that I can see an opportunity where they can do that. Like what Nike's is doing, uh, what Adidas is doing, especially in VR and AR.
Yeah.
So if you have like these beautiful videos and, if we create that, how we can turn that into NFTs. So the workshop itself, I do want to plan a workshop at some point. Before the part where I do think first before NFTs it's not a major learning curve, just so it's again just there are the platforms have made it easy. I
Mm.
think where there is this learning curve is understanding the blockchain and understanding crypto. But blockchain, I'm not saying that you have to understand the technology per se. It's just like understanding a car. You don't necessarily need to be a builder of the car, but you do need to know how to maintain it. You need
Mm.
to know how to, change a wheel, what to do with it if it needs to be charged. It's the same thing with if you're trying to maintain an art, if you're trying to maintain your assets, crypto. So I'm planning to teach people how to maintain their keys, how to look at certain types of what is the difference between custodial,
Yeah.
non-custodial. That's another thing, because that's also very important, because do you own that asset?
Yeah.
And so that's and the courts in the United States have kind of confirmed not your keys, not your crypto. It's the
Yeah.
same thing with NFT that I'm noticing, that I feel like, is it yours? That's why I was like, I think that we have to make it very clear that yes, but show the process, ensure that you put the terms in the smart contract or the script, and the some of the platforms do allow that.
I think that's very key. For me, when I run a workshop, and just so you guys know, you're hearing it first, I'm planning on running a workshop. I'm not sure if it's just going to be for members or if I'm going to open it up as a paid event and maybe free for members. I'm not very sure. I'm not sure yet. But what I am looking at is for people to do from A to B.
Yes.
This is how you would create an NFT. These are the different areas that you can create an FAT in, and then these are the different platforms. This is why you would use this platform, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's part of the mini course that goes with this recording, but there's learning about it and then implementing. So the workshop would be the implementation part to
Mm-hmm.
help people understand how they can leverage blockchain in this arena, as well as in crypto and other areas, business applications, etc., etc.
Yes.
Okay, so that's really, really great. And there's so much more I'd love to touch on with you, but let's dive into questions, because I know we was having a great conversation before I hit record. So for those of you who are on the call, Jody, hi Susanna, and Sterling, do you have any questions for Bettina?
Yeah, we were talking about being tokenized.
Yeah, that was that. I was gonna go ahead and bring that back up again, because we were talking about like the potential or the ability to tokenize ourselves and our worth and this, that, and the other, and the fact that especially as women in this space, and potentially women of color in this space,
Mm-hmm.
that we are like our input is extremely valuable in a space filled with older white men.
Yeah.
And do you think that changing that conversation to talk less about, or to frame it less in the sense of like, you need to diversify, you need to bring more women to the table, this, that, the other, shifting that conversation, thinking about how we think about tokenizing and how we speak about tokenizing, to shift the conversation instead to talking about ourselves as, I am a rarity, I am special, I have all of this worth to offer you. Yeah, just I guess how that kind of will play into.
It's so funny, because when I was a child, I was a very curious child, and I since I can remember, my family are Haitian descent. I was born in Canada, but my family, if in the Haitian community, a girl is not supposed to ask questions, right? Stop. You shouldn't be talking about nonsense like this, adult content. To don't bring up these things, right? There was so many things I was bringing up when I was a child. I was a very curious child. And why I'm bringing this up is because oftentimes my whole family to this day have always said, my God, you're like it's so unique. You're all on your, you're just, yeah. And I've always embraced it. And then when I got into, because as I stated, I worked in finance prior to opening my shop in my design studio, my design agency. And I will say that because I was such a curious child, no one really gave me the pep talk. Oh, you're the girl. You're going to be this rarity in the space and of world of white men. And I was working in places I didn't really care, but looking back on it, yes, I was one of the only woman of color, Black girl, but I was just going, or I was being invited because of my curiosity. And they saw I was curious. They saw I was wanting to learn. And because of my boldness of wanting to do that, I think that was what helped me too. But I will say that looking back on it, because I learned so much from that, what not to do, how do I diversify? How do I, bring in people to when I do start a business? I remember when I started my business, I told the class I'm going to do a remote agency. It was unheard of. My teacher laughed at me because how do you do a design agency without having a space? That didn't make any sense. And I saw the computer as being, the greatest thing, and this is going to be a great opportunity for designers all over the world to really do amazing things. And I wanted to create that collective, and how do we come together to collaborate and help clients? That was unheard of. And this great, it's been a blessing in disguise with this whole pandemic. And so this was an opportunity where people finally came up to me and online and said, now I know how you do it. The Zooms, the collaborative too. Oh, you do that. They were all asking me, how do you do this, Bettina? But again, being that I was a unique person back then, and I felt, yeah. And so, but I embraced being different. I was never into I've always been a believer, I think, I don't like the idea of assimilation and, trying to be all the same. We're not, I think we should be embracing our differences. We all bring our own uniqueness to the table. The table. We have different lived experience. And being in UX, I'm always trying to explain to clients, meet your customers, meet your users, talk to them. People you will never. I went to this crypto art event. This man came up to me who I would never have talked to. And I'm like thinking, who is this? But he happened to be one of the whales, I assume. I think he is. But he invited me to this group. And I thought he was coming on to me. And I just like, I don't know. But I just did it. Who didn't? I just did it. But it turned out to be such a great opportunity where I was like, okay, this is great. I'm meeting all these people from all over the world. And why that happened was because I kept myself a little bit open. I kept that open-mindedness. This man was just very different, and that's the thing. You have to embrace people as they are, as they come. As they come. I mean, as they come. And that's really how I see it. And we are our own NFT. And so we can apply what we, whatever or lack of into the table. You just got, if you don't know, that's a great thing. I wish the less I knew, the better I wouldn't get in trouble.
But the thing about it, the less you know as well, is the opportunity for you to grow, to ask those questions, like you said. And for me, with what you're saying, because I'm all about value. And I've been in this women empowerment space for quite a long time, around money, around career, and now around blockchain, right?
Yes.
But even though career and money is very pertinent to all of it. And the thing about it is, when you think about NFTs and it being a non-fungible token, right? So it's unique.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you look at yourself. What makes me unique?
Yes.
How am I valuable? And it isn't a question of how, it's a question of being able to look at yourself and say, well, if I could see the value in that NFT, then why can't I see the value in me?
Yeah.
So I feel like, I'm kind of going deep here right now, because there's some people who wouldn't even think about an NFT on that level. They're looking at it from the aesthetics,
Yes. Exactly.
But I think there's something very profound about conversations of uniqueness and value and tokenization, and how it reflects on us as individuals bringing something to this space.
I mean, it's the same thing with art and artifacts that you see in the London Museum or the British Museum. I remember going to the British Museum. I don't recall ever seeing any British content there, right? But they embraced. I'm sorry to say, but it's so funny. They saw value in all of these beautiful work that they collected. And placed it in the museum for the world to see. And us, we didn't see it as value, and so because we just thought, how can you take this piece of element from the ground and see this as some sort of gold, like this thing, right? How can you why would you convert this tree into this paper that you could do so much again? It's the same, but it's vice versa. Like someone in the indigenous population would say, well, this is there's a creator who created all of this. There was whatever it is, this is also an NFT. There's so many planets that are NFTs, and we're going deep here, right? And so at the end of the day, they all have a uniqueness and they all are valuable in their own ways. And we have to appreciate that, and that we also are on stardust, we're stars in our own right. And some of us are big, some of them are small, some of them, shine bright, and some of us, explode, and that's awesome.
I know, like when I was learning about NFTs and like trying to have these conversations with people who are not as interested in the blockchain, but are like, I read about NFTs on Twitter or whatever, and trying to explain like how things have value. And something that I always reflect on, it like related to what you're talking about, Bettina, about like where everyone sees value, and you as well, Lavinia, like valuing ourselves and versus like this piece of art. I studied photography, and part of what we studied in the history of photography is that when photography became a thing, painters were like, that's not art.
Yeah.
You can print a photo multiple times. That's not art. Yeah. But nowadays we're like, yes, photography is art. But even when digital photography became a thing, like there was still a rift even in the photography community of saying like, well, that's not art. It's digital. And that's kind of the conversation that I see happening with NFTs, and talking about value, that people need to shift their mindset ultimately about what is value. It's not necessarily something that is tangible. Even with something like music, to me, it's like that. It's not the same thing as touching a painting. It's
a different art form altogether. It's an energy.
Exactly.
It's an energy,
and it's also what you're bringing back to what Duchamp. You remember the art movement, Dada? I studied art. I studied photography because I got my minor in art history. We had to do I did the study abroad. It was in photography, actually. So I'm very familiar with what you're talking about. And, but yeah, the Duchamp, which is the man, he was part of the art movement Dada, asked the simple question, what is art? To someone, they may not think the loo is the art, but it's valuable to but he's talked about that. It was but to us, we just didn't understand what he was talking about. And he talked about the rock, he talked to so many things, but again, all around us, everything around us is valuable. And to some people it may not, but again, someone created it, someone or something, but at the end of the day, there is a value of it. It comes down to but within us, we are valuable, I personally think.
Of course. And I mean, and like I said, I just think it's NFTs, if you really want to look deep, go deep, it's just about a reflection of value, and then how we value ourselves and also our creations, and not only how we value it, but how it can be valued now with this new platform that is giving people a voice, giving people opportunities, and that's what we want. So
perfect example, like memes. People just made fun of memes earlier, many years back, right? During this pandemic, we were in lockdown. What we were doing is we were scrolling and seeing these memes. It entertained us. We can't talk to each other, but people were communicating with these memes. There's so much value in what the meme creators did. And I know friends who were dealing with mental illness, and just me posting a smart ass meme, it brightened their day. I know friends who are meme creators who just needed to just do something that was funny and help them. And so I think that's you have to think there is so much. It may not be valuable to you,
or it might not be valuable in that moment, and then something switches and then it becomes more valuable.
Exactly.
And so on that point, I'm going to wrap that up on that note. And so, I think, NFTs is a product that has been created off the blockchain. But the key thing that we're talking about here is value, and how we take value not only from ourselves, but also from this opportunity within the blockchain. And so that is what I want whoever's watching this right now to think about. How can you position yourself to add value and take value from this space, but not just take it, but in taking it, you're positioning yourself to give back as well, because it's always about the yin and the yang. So thank you so much, Bettina, for your time. When I share this, I'll share your LinkedIn profile so people can connect with you. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was great conversation. It's the best conversation. I love the fact that we went this deep, because it is exactly about value and valuing ourselves, for sure.
Yeah, 100. And thank you for your great questions as well, Sterling. And great to see you on here.
Awesome.
And Bettina, all the best with your rebranding, recreation.
And I will keep you posted on workshops, for sure. There's just so much on my plate right now.
No worries. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good evening. Thank you for listening. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram to keep up with our updates. If you enjoyed this episode, then please rate, share, and leave a comment. Your support is appreciated. Until next time.